The blizzard intensified, blanketing Chicago's roads in a heavy, silent layer of snow. It was deep into the night, and the bustling metropolis, typically vibrant, appeared to have surrendered to the tempest. Street lamps cast a gentle amber glow through the mist, and gusts howled fiercely among deserted skyscrapers. A luxurious black sedan glided cautiously along the vacant roadway, its wheels gently crunching the fresh powder. Behind the wheel, Benjamin Hayes gripped the leather steering column with one hand while adjusting the climate controls with the other. The landscape beyond was a swirling blur of white, and he had no pressing reason to be out, yet insomnia frequently plagued him. As he navigated onto Michigan Avenue, a figure caught his attention at the bus shelter. He peered intently, easing the vehicle to a halt. There, huddled on the icy bench, sat a young woman dressed in scrubs. Her dark hair was damp with flakes, her frame trembling beneath a lightweight jacket. She remained motionless, fists buried in her pockets, gazing blankly forward. Her smartphone rested on her thigh, screen blank, power depleted. Benjamin's brow furrowed. Without hesitation, he pulled over abruptly and exited. The chill assaulted him immediately, slicing through his overcoat, though he barely registered it. He approached her with measured strides, the snowfall muffling his footsteps. She didn't notice until he addressed her. "You're coming with me." Her gaze snapped toward him, wide with alarm and caution. "Pardon? I don't know you at all." He regarded her steadily, his tone calm yet resolute. "I won't abandon you to hypothermia. That's out of the question." She rose instinctively, retreating a short distance. "I'm okay," she insisted, despite her quivering tone and chattering teeth. "I'm just awaiting the next shuttle." "No shuttles are running," he countered, scanning the desolate avenue. "Not in this weather. Services are halted. No cabs, no subways, and you're in medical attire amid a blizzard." "I can manage," she asserted, hugging herself more firmly. He maintained his distance, but his expression conveyed an unspoken empathy that held her attention. Not sympathy, not attraction, something akin to subtle comprehension. He removed his lengthy black overcoat and extended it to her. "Wear this." She hesitated, then tentatively accepted and draped it over herself. It enveloped her in heat, carrying a faint aroma of cedar and luxury, swiftly dulling the bite of the frost. "I can drive you to your residence," he offered plainly. "Where is it?" "Evanston," she answered warily. "Too distant on foot, and no ride will brave this. My vehicle is heated, and I'm not a threat. You can ride in the rear if preferred, and I'll drop you off wherever, or remain here and risk frostbite. Up to you." She scrutinized him intently for an extended period. He appeared recognizable, though she couldn't place why. His features were chiseled and refined, reminiscent of those in financial glossies, piercing blue eyes, a tailored ensemble beneath a somber scarf, locks lightly dusted with snow. He exuded the aura of someone unacquainted with shivering at transit stops. Despite her reservations, her instincts propelled her forward. Her feet shifted before her words formed. "All right," she murmured, and he held open the front door. She slid in, questioning if this was folly, uncertain of much beyond the immediate comfort enveloping her. The door closed with a muted thud, sealing out the gale. She observed as he circled to the driver's side and settled in, glancing at her briefly before accelerating. No conversation ensued as the sedan progressed along the frosted lanes. Two unfamiliar souls in a hushed interior, linked solely by an odd encounter and the benevolence of a man who seldom paused for strangers until this evening. The gentle hum of the vents bridged the silence as the car navigated the lightly dusted thoroughfares. The glass gradually defrosted, revealing the glittering metropolis shrouded in ivory. Within, the coziness contrasted sharply with the exterior sting. Sophia perched rigidly in the passenger seat, clutching the borrowed garment tightly. She drew it nearer, inhaling the unfamiliar yet soothing fragrance woven into the fabric. It hinted at affluence, certainly, but also evoked serenity, stability, security. She stole a glance at the driver. He hadn't uttered a syllable since her entry. His concentration seemed riveted on the path, illuminated by the instrument panel. Every aspect of him was impeccably composed. His posture, his timepiece, even his grip on the controls. "Thank you," she ventured softly, more out of habit than expectation. He kept his eyes forward. "No need for gratitude. You were in peril." She faltered. Even so, few would bother. A faint grin tugged at his mouth. "I'm not like the majority." The statement might have seemed arrogant, but it rang authentic. Silence resumed, and Sophia reclined into the cushion. Exhaustion overwhelmed her now that warmth had returned. 14 grueling hours at the clinic without respite, understaffed, skipped meals, and a critical case extending into her final shift. She hadn't intended to miss the last transport, but such mishaps recurred. Her existence was a relentless battle for equilibrium. Bills overdue, her side gig cutting hours, and debt collectors hounding her persistently. He guided the vehicle into a subterranean garage. Sophia's eyes widened as they descended into an exclusive enclave of polished cement and ambient illumination. This surpassed ordinary residences. "You reside here?" she inquired, astonished. "Currently," he responded, "parking." "Come, you're staying over tonight." She blinked in shock. "Hold on, what?" "It's not up for debate," he stated, already alighting. "You require rest. I have ample room." Her intuition flared. "I can't impose on a total stranger." He lingered by the open door, locking eyes without coercion or plea. "No obligations. I'll use the spare suite. Secure the lock if desired, but you're not venturing into that gale." She nibbled her lip anxiously, one part deeming it reckless, the other drained and yearning for shelter from the frigid seat. Moments later, she disembarked. The interior exceeded her anticipations. Expansive panes, inviting glows, a radiant hearth, and profound tranquility that felt sacred. The area was elegant yet approachable. Masculine refinement understated. "The chamber on the left is yours," he indicated, gesturing down a corridor. Fresh attire in the dresser. Oversized but cozy. She pivoted toward him deliberately. "Why this generosity?" He shrugged lightly. "Because it's feasible, and I possess compassion." His response lingered as she proceeded to the guest quarters. The bedding was pristine, linens scented with chamomile and opulence. All immaculate, yet not sterile. It suggested habitation by someone affluent, yet inwardly vacant. A quarter hour later, clad in an oversized charcoal pullover and baggy trousers, Sophia tiptoed back to the galley. She sought hydration, but halted at the threshold. Benjamin stood at the range, preparing a meal. Not a chef's creation, not delivery. Him in a plain tee and slacks, stirring a modest saucepan. He glanced up, noticing her observation. "I figured you might need sustenance." She appeared taken aback. "What's on the menu?" "Noodles," he replied straightforwardly. "Basic but comforting." She advanced, amazed at his sudden ordinariness. Merely a person, not a tycoon, someone who, inexplicably, had spotted her and nourished her. As she settled at the island, he presented a dish and utensils. She regarded him, utterly perplexed. This defied her expectations. He met her stare, his expression inscrutable. "You're not what I anticipated either." Dawn's rays filtered through the lofty glass, casting warm honeyed beams across the spare bedroom. Sophia stirred to the aroma of brewed Java wafting through the residence and the novel luxury of fabrics far silkier than any she'd known. Briefly, disorientation clouded her. Then recollections flooded. The flurry, the opulent ride, the enigma who had crafted noodles at dawn's edge. She discovered a memo on the counter, inscribed in elegant cursive. "Cab fare on the stand." Depart at your leisure, but if inclined to converse further, contact me. Beneath, a crisp $100 note and a contact card. Benjamin Hayes, Hayes Capital Ventures. She fixated on the moniker for an extended interval. It evoked vague familiarity. Periodicals, finance sites, some elite ranking skimmed at a market queue. So that explained him. She pocketed the currency but discarded the card. 3 days elapsed. No outreach. But on the fourth dusk, during volunteer hours at a community wellness fair sponsored by the clinic, she encountered him anew. He lingered at the venue's rear, unobtrusive amid the throng of caregivers, attendees, and sponsors. No fanfare, no entourage, just him in charcoal attire, palms in pockets, surveying until his sight landed on her. Sophia assisted a frail, elderly gentleman into a seat for his complimentary evaluation. He lacked identification, coverage, kin, just a worn overgarment and a warm grin. She knelt beside him, murmuring gently, measuring his vitals with the dignity afforded to all, irrespective of status. From afar, Benjamin observed. He remained stationary, undisturbed, yet a subtle shift softened his demeanor. Something minor, yet profound. As the queue dwindled and the assembly dispersed, Sophia pivoted and spotted him. She hesitated, then approached. "Did you track me down?" she quipped, half in jest, half uncertain. "No," he clarified. "I fund this initiative annually. I hadn't anticipated you." She crossed her arms. "Yet here I stand." He surveyed the space. "You contribute extra after marathon shifts." She shrugged. "Assistance is required. I understand deprivation." He inclined his head, pausing, then remarked, "My mom was a caregiver. She'd escort me to similar venues as a boy. I resented it then, but now I grasp it." Sophia tilted her head. "You omitted that detail." "Much remains unspoken," he countered, a subtle smile emerging. They lingered wordlessly briefly. Then he proposed, "Accompany me for Java." No pressure. She deliberated but assented this time. Java evolved into a stroll. The stroll and a perching on a ledge near Millennium Park, where the drifts had thawed sufficiently to expose Earth. They avoided topics of wealth, careers, or grandeur. They discussed insomnia, subpar brews at labor, tomes begun but abandoned. It grew routine. In ensuing weeks, encounters persisted. Perhaps not coincidental, she pondered, but refrained from inquiry. Occasionally, they'd convene in the clinic's eatery post-midnight. At times, he'd dispatch a chauffeur to ferry her to a serene locale where he awaited with cocoa or her preferred snacks. He'd inquired once casually and retained the preference. They unlabeled their bond. No clasped palms, yet resonated more genuine than prior experiences. Not courtship, two individuals rediscovering vitality. One evening, seated adjacent on the Art Institute's stairs, exchanging tacit reflections, she glanced at him and observed, "You differ from public perceptions." He faced her, tone subdued. "Likewise." She grinned. "What do they claim about me?" "That you're excessively compassionate." She shrugged. "It's not benevolence. It's humanity." He regarded her extensively. "Perhaps I'm seeking mine." She offered no reply, merely reclined, gazing at stars piercing the urban haze. For the first extended period, the evening felt serene. Benjamin Hayes had perpetually favored solitude. It provided comfort, authenticity. Prosperity arrived prematurely, perhaps excessively so. By 30, he'd founded and divested his initial tech firm, then pivoted to finance, where his keen insight garnered notoriety that inspired admiration or aversion. Yet riches never bridged his inner void. They merely skimmed it. He was 12 at his mother's passing. Malignancy, swift and merciless. She'd served as a caregiver in a modest community facility, the sort who lingered with ailing folk, provided coverings to vagrants, embraced her offspring good night despite exhaustion. His father, detached and commerce-obsessed, faltered with a grieving youth. Thus, he enrolled Benjamin in preparatory academy and immersed in ledgers. By 25, millions amassed. By 30, billions. None erased maternal memories. In his secluded workspace, concealed by transparent barriers and lustrous timber, one image endured unchanged. A vintage snapshot of her in uniform, beaming as if adversity were impossible. Sophia's garb mirrored it nearly identically. It initially captivated him, preceding her quivering limbs or defiant timbre. He withheld this from Sophia. Instead, he operated discreetly, his forte, via anonymous channels. He located her lingering education debts and settled them. He established a medical endowment in her honor at her alma mater. No fanfare, no acclaim. He discerned her facility struggled to sustain its indigent aid during harsh seasons. An unnamed donation arrived, sufficient for 3 years' sustenance. He proceeded cautiously. He concealed his interventions. To Sophia, he remained merely Benjamin, enigmatic, reserved, benevolent modestly, never ostentatious. She remained oblivious to his vigilance over her existence, how he rearranged agendas to observe her peripherally at gatherings, or how he idled in his vehicle for hours outside her workplace amid blizzards to ensure her safe arrival. He rationalized it wasn't dominance. It concerned granting her liberty to pursue passions. He'd witnessed burnout's toll on her ilk. He'd seen it in his mother's gaze toward the close. He refused to let Sophia bear that solitary weight. Certain evenings post their casual rendezvous, he'd return and enter his study, fixating on his mother's portrait. He'd contemplate Sophia's grins toward charges, her fierce advocacy for the destitute. "You'd approve of her," he once murmured to the frame. You mirrored each other. But he reserved those sentiments from Sophia. Not immediately. He was mastering vulnerability exposure. The facet entombed when a youth in mourning attire stood graveside and ceased trusting tenderness. Sophia eroded his long-standing defenses with each authentic chuckle, each nocturnal anecdote over deliveries and varied infusions. She dismantled his armor accrued over years. Yet she ignored his covert aid. He sought no accolades. He acted because she alleviated his perpetual inner hush. For a figure like Benjamin Hayes, that sufficed entirely. The clinic corridors reeked of disinfectant and stale brew. Caregivers darted between chambers. Physicians barked directives via devices, and fluorescent fixtures buzzed like a weary pulse persisting. In Suite 412, an individual reclined motionless on the slim cot. Her complexion ashen, respiration labored, her dark tresses fanned across the cushion like faded dawn from fatigue. Sophia had collapsed mid-duty, right in the passage between wards. She'd fasted 12 hours, endured dual rotations, and midway, through another, when her limbs buckled, vision eclipsed. By intervention, she'd already fainted. No kin designated in records, yet an arrival ensued. Benjamin's ebony sedan screeched into the lot within half an hour of notification. No delay, no hesitation. Upon entry, personnel glanced, not from recognition, but his commanding presence, a man infrequent in such venues unless crises loomed. He accessed her chamber, swung the portal, and froze. She appeared diminutive, excessively so. Her drip line dangled serenely bedside, solutions trickling into her vein like muted regrets for her corporeal ordeals. Her torso heaved with strained inhalations. He advanced deliberately, footsteps hushed, and perched adjacent. For an elongated instant, he idled, merely observing. Then he extended and tenderly clasped her palm. It chilled him. He enveloped it firmly in his pear, recalling his mother's method during his childhood maladies. He sealed his lids. When Sophia roused 2 hours hence, it was to warmth encasing her digits. Her vision gradually cleared, revealing him first. Benjamin seated, cuffs folded, neckwear loosened, mane disheveled as if raked repeatedly. "What?" she rasped. "You fainted," he explained, timbre taut. "Dehydrated and malnourished." She blinked sluggishly. "That's your greeting?" His composure fractured, and upon full regard, his gaze stormed. She attempted elevation, grimacing. "It's minor. I overextended slightly." "Slightly," he retorted abruptly, rising swiftly. "Dual employments. Foregone repasts. Minimal slumber. You deem that trivial?" She flinched, not from discomfort, but his edge. "Benjamin." "No," he interjected, pacing, knuckles whitened. "You should have confided. I could have assisted. I would have." "I rejected aid," she snapped, and hush descended. He pivoted gradually. Sophia's orbs brimmed, timbre wavering. "I've fended solo since 16. None arrives. None endures. And I refused indebtedness. I shunned your pity as damaged." He neared cautiously. She swiped her visage abashed. "Apologies. I didn't intend this unraveling." "You're not unraveling," he soothed. "You've sustained existence barehanded." She held his stare, transparent and resolute. He receded, deliberate, reclaiming her grasp, now clasping steadfastly. "Not solitary henceforth," he murmured, ire dissipated, supplanted by profundity. "Henceforth, your mind to safeguard." She gaped astounded. He uttered it not possessively, but as solemn vow. Moisture traced her cheeks, and she retained contact. For the inaugural extended recollection, Sophia sensed visibility, nurturance, not solicited, not merited, but purely as one declined her isolated suffering. The relocation transpired unspoken. No ceremonial juncture, no proposal, no labeled crates or contracts. One twilight, Benjamin proposed escorting Sophia homeward, and she merely stated, "I scarcely dwell there now, do I?" He affirmed once, and thereafter her belongings gradually infiltrated his domain. They evaded discussion. They adapted. Her scrubs nestled beside his ensembles in the wardrobe. Her oral hygiene tool flanked his in the lavatory. He allocated a compartment for her infusions in the galley, and draped a plush cover on the settee for her perennial chill. Yet, no tender declarations, no luminous suppers, no embraces in repose. Nights, he claimed the divan. Initially, she attributed it to chivalry. Then, perhaps discomfort. Eventually, she discerned his unspoken dread. He navigated intimacy gradually. Benjamin conveyed affection wordlessly. Each nocturnal rotation, a heated vessel of her cherished fare awaited in the personnel cooler, memo affixed. "Consume, kindly." Her likeness, a candid capture amid her mirth in Millennium Park, adorned his secluded desk frame. Once forgetting her wrap, a courier delivered a premium replacement, exquisite and extravagant. He omitted, "I yearn for you," but he deferred conferences to accompany her to shifts. She recognized his concern, yet questioned his comprehension, for a barrier persisted, a subtle, yielding obstruction she couldn't surmount. He withheld emotions, avoided public gestures, never solicited shared slumber, not from disinterest, but inability to vocalize dependency. Gradually, that reticence wearied her. One dusk, Sophia returned to the silent residence. Illumination subdued. Flames danced in the hearth. Her favored volume perched on the sofa arm, undisturbed. But absence greeted her. She located him in his study, gazing outward, his mother's image adjacent, hers proximate. She entered, tone tender. "You consult that snapshot when troubled." He remained averted. "It aids recollection." "Of what?" His pause protracted. "That souls like hers, and yours persist." She gulped. "Benjamin," she breathed, "what occupies us?" He finally faced her. "Elaborate." She gestured betwixt. "We cohabit. Converse. Dine jointly, yet no contact. No expressions. I'm unsure of my welcome. I desire your presence," he hastened. "Then why gaslight?" Her timbre cracked. Why bar entry? He averted, mandible rigid. Admittance invites departure. I'm not others, she affirmed. I'm myself. Aware, he intoned lowly. That intensifies it. She held his gaze prolonged, then whispered, I love you, Benjamin. For some time. He stared, orbs dilated mute. The hush endured excessively. Then realization dawned. She nodded gradually, sorrowful curve. Fine, she breathed. No, reciprocity needed. But I can't linger for indecision on emotion. She departed the study. That eve, she gathered possessions. He intervened not. He loitered in the passage, palm on jam, lips parted, frame rigid as waging ancient strife. Yet voiceless. Upon the portal's latch, the dwelling's hush transformed. No longer gentle, oppressive, the void she bequeathed roared. Days blurred as Benjamin traversed his penthouse dazed. The hearth flickered dimly. Her cover lay static on the settee. Her vessel lingered in the basin. Her essence clung to his garment, and he paused in thresholds, seeking involuntarily. Sessions lacked engagement. Financiers summoned, disregarded. A multimillion pact deferred, unprecedented in 15 years. His aide rapped softly one midday. Mr. Hayes, Tokyo awaits endorsement. He fixated on her desk portrait, immovable. Abort, he commanded. The aide faltered. Sir, abort. He rose, donned his wrap, and exited sans elaboration. He required her location. Twilight descended upon his clinic arrival. Flurries recommenced, delicate yet relentless. The urban hum encircled as he traversed glass entries, interior sterile and luminous, bereft of her infused warmth. At reception, he queried her. The attendant consulted the display, brow creased. Sophia Grant, she noted, relocated fortnight past. His core plummeted. Relocated? Affirmative, the attendant replied, sympathetically amid haste. No longer employed. No forwarding locale. He lingered stunned. The foyer teemed with afflicted, medics rushing, apparatus whirring, yet inaudible. She vanished without farewell. He uttered faintly. The attendant glanced. Kin, he hesitated. No, he murmured. Evidently not. Exterior, frost nipped his epidermis. Crystals alighted on his garb, vanishing promptly. He ambled to the facility's courtyard, halting amid vacant seats and barren boughs. Thorax constricted. He uplifted his countenance skyward, orbs moistening uncontrollably. She alone, he rasped, timbre fracturing, rendered me mortal. And the flakes persisted. Winter revisited Chicago with gentle drifts and a mellow aura softening the skyline. A year since Sophia's departure, a year since parting from the man yet to vocalize affection. Now resilient, assured. As lead caregiver at a modest facility in northern Illinois, she commanded respect and reliance. Yet in tranquil evenings with brew clasped, she reminisced him, pondered his pursuit, sensed his unvoiced sentiments. Then the summons arrived. Her kin suffered a minor cerebrovascular event, prompting Sophia's urban return for tending. She leased a modest unit near the Gold Coast, deeming it transient. One frosty dawn, traversing familiar paths, she entered a cherished floral boutique, the one where ages prior she'd witnessed Benjamin selecting blooms for a youth. The chime tinkled. There he stood, rearward, statuesque, and immobile, extracting pale lilies from a rack. She halted. He rotated. Gazes interlocked. Temporality suspended. Benjamin appeared matured, wiser, gentler, yet quintessentially himself. He deposited the blooms delicately and advanced. Proximate, yet respectful. You're coming with me, he intoned, timbre subdued. The phrase reverberated from yesteryear, now authentic and vulnerable. He halted, gazed steadfast. If you desire. I never ceased anticipating. Moisture welled uncontrollably. She assented, speechless. He clasped her palm with reverence and awe, fearing evanescence. Yet upon linkage, it conveyed certainty of loss's sting, vowing eternal retention. He escorted her homeward, not to extravagance, but a cozy abode bordering Millennium Park, replete with foliage, mellow radiance, and nuances evoking her. Her cover, her likeness, her essence preserved. "You retained all," she breathed. "I retained you," he affirmed. Half a year onward, they wed on a balmy summer dawn in the revitalized garden of Benjamin's ancestral estate. Merriment lined the walks and atmosphere. Attendees sparse yet meaningful. Colleagues, former charges, confidants witnessing their saga. Amongst the senior gent Sophia once aided at a clinic fundraiser. The instant Benjamin truly beheld her, he arose for oration amid rites. "She's eternally celestial," he declared tearfully. Now she secured her guardian. Benjamin recited vows, unscripted. "Love eluded me pre-you," he professed. "Yet daily I'll master it alongside you." Sophia caressed his jaw, timbre hushed. "Jointly we'll master." That eve, post-final departure and waning tapers, they nestled blanketed on their novel abode's veranda, distant summer squall rumbling. Sophia reclined against him, beaming. Unimaginable a frigid eve at a shelter-yielded home. Benjamin pressed lips to her crown, timbre a murmur in the breeze. "That eve," he stated, "I didn't rescue you." He oriented her visage tenderly. "You rescued me." Thus concluded the tale of a glacial night. A reserved gent and the lady who instructed him affection. Occasionally saviors manifest sans grandeur. They arrive cloaked in subtle generosity, midnight noodles, and a palm clasped mute. If this narrative stirred your soul, if it evoked that romance ignites unpredictably, kindly disseminate, and crucially subscribe to heartwarming narratives for additional life-drawn yarns that uplift, inspire, and linger post-conclusion. Till forthcoming, remain cozy, compassionate, and recall, occasionally minutest encounters transform all.